Hello, and welcome to No Icing, Season 4, Episode 5. Tonight we have a very special guest. Um, Let me introduce and help me introduce my special guest tonight. Let me bring up my favorite co-host, the man of 1,001 voices, Mr. Rory Penland.
Your favorite co-host.
Hey, yes.
You got the button. Wow.
Got the button. And I'm
My
trying to share.
just a fart box. So that's the button I have. So I'm sorry. That's all I got.
Oh, I remember that. You haven't used that in a while.
I have not.
Why?
You don't humor too much. Just every now and again. Did you? Oh no, yeah. I thought you froze on me. Sorry.
No, I'm trying to share a bunch, but no, I have this too.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Really want a good effect, Get everybody.
So what does a person on your show have to do to get that?
I don't know. What should we do? Help me figure it out. I haven't thought about
I would want it, but
I'm just instantaneous.
You get the Golden Chicken Award.
A what?
You get the Golden Chicken Award.
Yeah.
I got the Golden Chicken Award. Let's not keep our guest waiting any longer.
Okay.
He's cold. It's very cold up there.
Okay, everybody, it's very cold. Okay, everybody, let me introduce Eddie Brill.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I got the Golden Chicken Award.
You got the Golden Chicken.
Yeah. Who doesn't want the Golden Chicken? It's actually not that cold up here. I mean, it's comparatively to Florida, but we've had a few days where it's been bearable, and it's been pretty.
Yeah,
it's been okay. Like I've had the window open. Been that. Yeah.
We're gonna have beach weather this weekend. It'll be 80 down the lower 80s this weekend. So
yeah, I mean anything's beach weather if you go to the beach. Could be two, and
What's that Monty Python sketch where they did the Yukon guy but they filmed it on a beach?
Yeah, right.
People in parkas on the beach.
And there are I forget what you call them, but they go out. They're swimmers who go out when it's ice cold once a year. I forget what you call them. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A polar plunge?
Yeah, something like that.
Plungers?
The polar ice caps, or Dion and the polar ice caps.
Some of them do that naked too.
Yeah, well, you can't really tell because of the shrinkage. You don't know if they're men or women.
When it's that cold,
Yeah.
Yeah, grease me down. I'm going out to the hole.
There you go.
I think there's a group that does it annually in Staten Island.
Yeah, and there's one in Coney Island that they it is. They do it
naked.
The Staten Island, I think, is. I don't see really. I guess there's beaches. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, there's beaches. It's an island.
Coney Island.
Yeah. I don't know. It's but it's. I forget what they call it, but it's a Coney Island thing that they do every year. And then, the news crew gets to go down there. We're down here in Coney Island, New York, and they're going to do it once again. It's like, okay, here we go.
I used to go to Coney Island back in the days with the baby oil and
P. Diddy.
A little bit of money because they're always selling stuff on the beach. You need some cash. So you get some
come down to Coney Island, bring your baby oil.
Beer, whatever they sell. Ice cream, beer. What do they sell? All the things to make you feel sick when you're in the sun.
Right. Pretzels.
We're roasting with baby oil.
Knishes. My father was born in Coney Island, and I spent a lot of weekends with my grandparents just a block from the beach. And it's pretty great because, it's a great amusement park they have there. And, it's a beach, which is always fantastic. And So I was pretty lucky to have that as a place. Like I spend weekends with my grandparents, and they were not only cool and fun and like funny television, like Oliver Hardy and Laurel and Hardy and all that kind of stuff, but that during the days we get to go to the beach and have knish in a bag from. it was it was really cool.
And Rory, I don't know if you've ever been to that beach, but it's like you literally packed like in the summertime when it's hot, you are packed like sardines on the beach. There's literally like someone's elbow right next to you. That's how crowded it gets, and you have to try to walk without getting sand on anybody, because if you kick sand on someone, you're gonna have some Guidos coming after you wanting to fight, or Guidettes wanting to fight. So
And then you're all oiled up, so you actually are like sardines. It's like there's oil and you're packed in these places.
And you don't want to get salmon sardines.
My mother tells me, unfortunately passed away, but before she died, I asked her 10,000 questions so I can find out, all these stories about my childhood. And she told me that when her best friend Marilyn and her were at the beach, and I was always in the ocean. They brought me when I was an infant, and I still love the beach water everywhere. And my mom was holding me in her arms, and a big wave came, and all of a sudden I was gone. And Marilyn and my mother just thrashing, looking for me, and then Marilyn, by some luck, grabbed me, pulled me up by the hair, and saved my life. And but it's kind of weird because my whole life I've had dreams of being under the water, like swimming around like an infant under the water, really enjoying myself. So I don't know if that's
you probably were until she pulled you by the hair.
Right. But when you're an infant and you're in the water, I think you're not thinking I'm gonna die. You're just thinking like, oh, this is beautiful.
I'm under the water.
Or something. But yeah. So that was one of the stories she told me. But I lived. Here I am.
Here, yeah.
Another funny story she told me is that when I was a little kid, I didn't talk much, which is weird because now I don't shut up. But she said I didn't talk, and they were worried because the family were a bunch of talkers, and they took me to doctors and specialists, and they all said no. Some people take a while to talk. Well, I was the first child for my mother and father, and they were raising me the best way they could know how, reading books and asking other people. And so she never gave me any processed foods. She fed me very healthily, and she dressed me the same time every day and fed me the same time every day. And one day we were up in Maryland's because we lived in the same projects in those days. And they forgot to feed me, I guess. And I went up to Marilyn, and my first words were, "Marilyn, can I have a bologna sandwich?" Which is weird, first of all, because I'd never had bologna, because I had never had processed foods. So, but instead of saying mama or papa or Sandy or Rory, I said a whole sentence. Marilyn, can I have a bologna sandwich? And at first she went, yeah, sure. And they're like, whoa.
He talks.
Some kids do that. Yeah,
Oh,
some kids develop differently. I have a friend who does that, like speech, what do you call it? Like therapist, speech therapy.
Speech therapist?
Yeah, she works with children and the parents and everything. So, yeah. But you grew up in New York, right?
Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn, so Bensonhurst. And what's that?
What was your first dirty word?
I think I was Marilyn. I think that was the first dirty word. Marilyn. I always thought it would be great to open a comedy museum in Brooklyn because there's so many comedians in the world. And there's one part of Brooklyn, oddly enough, in a place called Trump Village, which is between Coney Island. It's right near Coney Island. And it was like Larry Charles and Neil Simon and Mel Brooks, and there's like 20, 30 people who grew up in this part of Brooklyn near the water down there. And I think it'd be great, but who's going to go to a museum people would go to it, but not all year round because people don't go to the beach all year round. When it's cold, they don't really frequent Coney Island as much.
I used to have a friend.
What happened?
I used to have a friend, from Staten Island, but her family owned a bagel store in Bensonhurst.
Ah, did
And
they
then
talk
I
about
worked
me?
huh?
Did they talk about me?
No, I didn't work there. I worked at a bagel store in Staten Island, and it was like one of the busiest ones in Staten Island. We'd have lines down the block, and yeah, it was
Doing a
crazy.
show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that a lot of my mom was born in the same neighborhood in Bensonhurst, and my aunt lived around the corner, and Neil Diamond was like my aunt's best friend growing up as little kids, and
Wow.
yeah, at least that's what she said. You know.
Anybody that's just watching, you've been on my show before, and it's always an honor to have you. And so thank you for coming back. And it's New Year, so first time this year, and it's great to have you back. But also, everyone go follow Eddie. Eddie, I just want to say, like, I've noticed you are like the best storyteller. You have like the coolest stories and all the detail that you put on Facebook. So everyone should go follow Eddie and look at read his great stories.
He's a good writer. I wish he would put all that stuff into a book.
I wish someone would publish it. I'd have over 300 stories.
Wow, you should. Well, you should. Yeah.
We'll talk.
Okay.
I told you about my publisher, Lee, right? Lee Anderson?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we got to get you guys together.
Yeah, let's hang on to what we got. Let's hang on, girl, what we got. Yeah, I write a lot. And
Neil Diamond in my head.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I went on this trip. We had a road when I was in Florida. When I was in high school, in junior high school, I was in Florida, Hollywood, Florida, and there was I had a paper route, and we were very poor, so I was working since I'm 11, and my mom would let me have some money from the paper route, and I would save it and save it and save it. And one time, I think it was the 9th grade or 10th grade, there was a trip to I think it was a trip to Mexico. No, it was Spain. It was Spain, and it was like $228 or something. And I had saved a couple of $100, and my parents were so nice; they gave me the $28 so I could go on this trip. And it was beautiful. I went to some really beautiful places. Segovia in Spain is one of the most beautiful places in the world, and it's where they filmed Four Musketeers, and there's aqueducts and all this stuff. And I met the girl who was going to eventually be my girlfriend, and on this trip, who had gone to a different high school, and her name was Karen Black, but not the actress Karen Black.
Oh, okay.
And what's odd is the last girl I dated was named Karen White, but that's a whole other story. It's true. But anyway, so Karen and I are on this bus going all through, Spain, and checking, we're two nerds, with our little, windbreakers in Spain, photos to prove it. And all of a sudden I hear ding 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 ding, Cracklin' Rosie, get on board. And I'm like looking around, we're on this bus, and there was never music, and I didn't hear any music. And I said, "Do you hear that?" She goes, "Hear what?" And I go, "Cracklin' Rosie." She goes, "You're out of your mind. There's no music being played." And so another odd, I heard Cracklin' Rosie. And not only did I hear Cracklin' Rosie, I heard the opening riff. But it turns out I was just starving for music, and my brain was like, all right, we'll play something for you.
It was just
very weird. Yeah. Yeah.
I hate when I get a song stuck in my head and I can't stop thinking about it. That drives me nuts.
You know what I had in my head yesterday, but it was a great song? Carole King is Another Pleasant Valley Sunday. So
dentist music. That's like the music they play at the dentist.
If you're at a dentist and they play that song, they're a very hip dentist. If you play Carole King, it's pretty good.
I think she did a Disney soundtrack, didn't she? For I could be wrong. I might be getting them mixed up
They're
with another
okay.
artist.
No.
Yeah, I feel the earth move under my feet.
Yeah,
She wrote a million songs. Will you
yeah.
still love me tomorrow?
I think
You
I
know.
remember her on Howard Stern show too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, she was
I
in.
think
There's a show about her life and career on Broadway.
Carol, show us your cans.
What? Huh?
Howard Stein.
Right. But anyway, so that was the song. I couldn't get that song out of my head. And I played it again thinking, all right, now I'll get sick of it. But it made me think of it more and more. And it was made famous by the Monkees. They did a version of Pleasant Valley Sunday. But she wrote it, and her version, I think, is the best one.
Well, and you were singing "Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow." Somebody else made that famous, didn't they?
Yeah, the Shirelles.
The Shirelles.
Well, Carole
That's
King
right.
wrote for a lot of people. You know, back in the days
Yeah.
of the Brill Building, when they had all those great Carol Bayer Sager and what's his face? If you see me walking down the street, Burt Bacharach, all those people, they were writing songs for all these great artists back in the day. And they all hung out in this building and they wrote songs and they were all good friends and they were, trying to, and that's how they made money. That, you make money off of writing and getting, the money that comes from it being played a lot.
Yeah, we've had Billy Vera on this show a couple times, and yeah, that's how he makes most of his money, is writing songs that other people cover. You know? And then he'll get a nice royalty for it every now and again.
It's beautiful. When people do my material, I don't get any money for it.
Did they at least buy you a drink?
Yeah, come on, please, something. A bagel, a Staten Island bagel, please.
A Knish in a bag.
Yay,
Anything.
please.
Yeah, my friends had the best bagels like ever. I used to get them right out of the oven.
Oh, that's the best.
Butter on them, slice them in half, and just put that real butter on it. And oh my gosh.
There was a place on my street here in New York that was a huge place that half of the store was, groceries and that stuff. And the other half was a bagel place that was making fresh bagels. And you would smell it as you walk by. It was like that Bugs Bunny smell that would drag you in there.
Yes.
And there was a guy who worked there who always said, "My friend," at the end of every sentence. "How are you today, my friend? How's everything, my friend? Can I get you a bagel, my friend? And, would you like butter, my friend?" And I always thought, what was he like if he didn't like you? Like, get out of my store, my friend. You're not my friend, my friend. You're my enemy, my friend.
Give me a bagel, Doc.
Yeah.
Well, the last time I spoke with you, you said you were going on like a little tour. Didn't you go to where did you go? Tell us. Can you tell us about that?
I go on a bunch of different ones. I forget when we last chatted and where I went, but just wherever they'll take me and they have integrity, that's the combination I like. And I've traveled all over the world. Like when I was a kid, I was saying we were very poor. We lived on the projects when I was in Brooklyn, and then in Florida, we lived in the cheapest place you could get, and still be able to have a roof on your head. So it was always a dream to travel for me.
And then upscale, actually.
What's that?
I said Hollywood's pretty upscale, actually. Hollywood, Florida.
Well, not the neighborhood I was in. People were very nice, but we were in the roughest part of Hollywood, and it was, but what are you going to do? You survive, and it wasn't like there was gunshots all the time, only half the time, and it was but it was just we were the poorest kids, we were by the tracks. And not the tracks of our tears, but we were, but anyway, so I always dreamt my far off brain dreaming was traveling. And then, being a comedian, having your dream come true was pretty great.
Yeah. You actually perform mostly in the New York area, right?
All over the world, I've performed in Bangladesh and I've performed in Paris. The best gig in the world for many, many years was in Paris. and then you know, Australia and some of the craziest places. I stood on top of a smart food van and performed for people while they were having lunch. I've gone both ends of the spectrum.
Integrity.
Yeah, integrity, baby.
The last
At
time
least the check cleared, so that's good.
I think the last time you said you were going to Chicago.
Yeah, I haven't been to Chicago in a while.
Yeah, it was a
I
while
love that
ago.
town. Yeah, it's a pretty good town. I think I was going with my son, and because he's a comedian as well.
Right.
And there was this
Oh, really?
these people were there. It was some kind of rally for pro-life or something like that. And there was a woman with a sign, and she held it up, and the sign pointed one way and said, "These guys are assholes." And she was holding it up. So my son and I went in between the sign and the people and went like, so it looks like she was saying these guys are assholes. And it's very funny. People thought, really? Why would she say that about you? It's like, she didn't say it about us.
You're the funny guy. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been wanting to go see a comedy show that is by me. Maybe if you come here, you better let me know because I'll come.
I will let you know.
There's a lot of great comedians coming through right now at the comedy club. That's a big one.
It's called the Comedy Club. That's what it's
called.
That's real.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very clever. It's a good name. I wonder how they came up with that.
There's a couple places, there's a couple venues that are, but there's.
Yeah, you have to get in through the door, and there's a big sign. The door. Speaking of signs, when I first saw the sign for the name of the show, my brain wasn't working because I didn't see the line in between no and icing. I'm like, what's noising? Why would it be noising? Is that because there's a lot of noise?
Noise.
Yeah, noising. Yeah, noising.
The Australians.
And it's just, it's my brain getting older.
Tell me about it.
Okay. Once upon a time.
Do you remember Hedges in Bensonhurst? Hedges, the old nightclub called Hedges.
No, I don't.
How about Pastels? Do you remember Pastels?
I remember that. I remember the one I remember the most is the one I can't remember. No, it was there was a place I got to see the Ramones. It was La Something. It was La Something.
Oh.
And it was a great club, and it was so tight in that club, the packed house, and the guitar player, his guitar was almost up against my stomach, and I had to hold my stomach in so that I didn't interfere with the guitar playing.
That's so funny.
Why can't I think of the name of that? I used to go there a lot. La something.
Oh,
people at home going.
L'Amour's.
L'Amour's.
It was like L'Amour's East, L'Amour's West.
Golden Chicken.
Oh yeah, Tom Chesh knows about L'Amour's.
It was great.
No, Hedges was like the Guido place, and so was the
L'Amour's was
Pastels was all disco and Guidos and neon lights.
Mm-hmm. I left Brooklyn when I was 11, so in Hollywood, Florida, we had a place called Trails End, and it was the disco era for me, and it was Philadelphia Freedom and celebrate good times, come on. And we also had Hollywood Swingers, and we're in Hollywood, Florida, so it was when they would Hollywood, and we would be like, that's about us, but it wasn't.
My brother used to live there before he moved down to Key Largo. And my favorite place there to go to, and it might not have been there when you were there, was Le Tub.
A
place called Le Tub.
I remember it well. The last time I went there I went with my
bathtubs all over the place.
my childhood crush. I went there with her. We became great friends, but she didn't know when I was in the 7th grade that I was the one putting little notes in her locker. But we went to Le Tub.
That's sweet.
Great burgers.
Yes. It's still there on A1A in Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah, one of the hurricanes went through and blew the place all to hell, but they've got it all back and up and running again.
Yeah. Let's go.
Next
We'll
time
stop
you
in
come down.
Chicago. So we'll get Sandy something in Chicago, pizza, Chicago pizza, and then we'll go down to the Tub and have burgers for dessert.
I want a
And
Philly
then,
cheesesteak.
oh yeah, well, we just have to, make a list and
A
then take a
knish.
road
I'll
trip.
take a knish with mustard in the middle and a Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah, or get like a Philly cheesesteak and put a knish in the middle, and then you got it.
That
I wish they
actually
had
might
them
be
around
tasty.
here.
Yeah, it sounds good.
You wrap a knish in a nice sandwich like that. Hell, that might be pretty good.
Yeah, you're making me hungry.
Stranger things have happened.
And okay. So this is what I need to talk about. Also, you guys got to meet and hang out in person. How was that?
Yeah, that was
Yes. Last time I was in New York.
Yeah,
Dinner together.
yeah, it was really nice, and we actually liked each other, and we laughed and had a good time and told a million stories, just like we're doing now. And we went to the Smith and had a very delicious meal.
And
And
right
yeah,
around the corner was his place. He didn't invite me up for a nightcap, but we sat on
but
the
it was
stoop.
at night, and I didn't have any caps, so we had to put a little fine pine on it.
I used to take a long train ride to get there too, because my daughter and I were staying like
Yeah, because you were in California and I live in New York.
something like
It was
that.
just really
Like that.
Yeah.
On the other side of New York.
Well, you were with your daughter, Rory?
Yeah.
Daughter?
She was doing some cool stuff when we were hanging out.
Yeah, she went to some of the anime shops there,
Yeah.
and she liked that. And she had a friend up there that she had met online, and they kind of went through a couple of anime stores that are really popular there. I can't
And she
even
let
remember
her father go off.
You
to
would
see
probably
his
know what the
friends.
neighborhood was that it was in.
It was
Do you
in
remember-
Queens. Wasn't it in Queens?
Was it Queens?
Queens or Long Island City or something like that.
It was Queens, I think. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were telling me where to walk to, where to go.
I was telling you where to go.
You stayed in Queens, Rory, but then you went to see him in Manhattan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Manhattan.
Oh.
Manhattan.
Took the train. The very efficient trains.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to drive every day. I used to drive the Midtown Tunnel to the BQE to the Verrazano Bridge, to the freeway.
And you know what's interesting? I haven't owned a car since I'm 17.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's so bizarre. I never needed one. I rent them when I need them, or
Yeah.
travel with comedians who have cars. But I'm living in the city. I lived in Boston. We didn't need a car. I took the green line from the dorms to the main campus or the van. And then when I lived in LA, a friend of mine from New York from LA who lived in New York said, "Look, I'm not using my car. Why don't you use it?" And I was so poor, and I had like 35 cents in my pocket, and her car was a gold Chrysler Baron convertible. And people thought I was this wealthy comedian because I'd pull into the parking lot at the Comedy Store in this gorgeous car. Meanwhile, I didn't have enough money to pay for the gas in my pocket.
Uh-huh.
That's the only, and I didn't own it, so she was nice enough to let me have her car for a while. But most of the time in my life, I haven't had to pay insurance or, have a car or parking, or it's very odd. Like I remember when cars cost like, $15,000 and they were really fancy and nice cars. And then I never owned a car after that.
Yeah.
Well, what does it cost now for parking garage if you did have a car there? What is it monthly?
It's like the same as rent. Couple of $1,000 or something
Yeah,
like that.
because I used to run a parking business there. So we had like 21 parking locations and mostly outdoor, not garages, all like outdoor parking lots. And then
that's a great business because it's just sitting there and people need it. It's like
we had a lot of monthly customers.
Cocaine,
it's like public it's like public storage units,
Yes.
You don't have to, there's no maintenance. You just have
right.
Put your stuff here and we'll lock it up for you. That's
That's great.
There
$200.
was and to make sure that the car is there when they come to return
Right.
to get their car,
'Cause that's,
because
I think that's the most
we had
important part of the job.
we had incidences where we had like employees from Pakistan and Bangladesh, and
Right.
they were just like brand new. They were just learning English and learning how to drive. They were some of them were young, and it was just like one time the guy got lost, ended up in New Jersey. He went through the
Ah,
tunnel and everything, and he was lost. And this was before cell phones had maps and stuff on GPS on them.
right.
The guy was so scared that he was lost, that he wasn't answering his phone, because the boss kept calling him, going like, "Where are you? That they're here. They need their car back. They're calling the police. You need to get back here wherever you are." And he
It's
was so
horrible.
scared. He wasn't answering the phone. He was like terrified, and he just couldn't find his way back. And it looks like another guy had to like go get him and help him and follow him back to get the person's car back to them. But
The two
Follow
guys
the
that took
leader.
the car in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I heard they made a movie about that,
Yeah.
about the adventure that they had in that car while Ferris Bueller and his friends were doing other things.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
this guy
It
was like
seems pretty
crying
cool.
because he just came to the country and he thought he was going to lose his job.
Oh.
He was new.
Of
and
course. And he doesn't
Yep.
know the language. He barely knows the
Yeah.
language. It makes it hard.
Yeah, he
You know,
couldn't just go to a gas station and call someone or go to a gas station and say, can you help me get back to the freeway?
Yeah, right. And also, how do you get from this place, like you see the Empire State Building and you go, okay, drive toward that thing, but you have to take highways and the tunnels and it's all that stuff. It's interesting. I saw this movie. Bill Burr was on the Rich Eisen show the other night, it was really funny. And he brought up a movie that Bill's taking over. He's not taking over. They're doing Glenn Ross on Broadway. And he happens to be in the cast, which is pretty amazing. I remember seeing the original Broadway show with Joe Mantegna. And he was talking about Ed Harris, because that's the part he's playing, that Ed Harris played in the movie. He said there's this great movie with all these incredible actors when they were very young called State of Grace, which I had seen when it came out, but I hadn't seen it. Well, I mean, it was Sean Penn and Robin Wright and, Gary Oldman and Ed Harris. And it was just incredible actors and a great movie.
I love
But
Gary
the thing that
Oldman.
was really shocking was seeing the Twin Towers in all the shots.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was normal. There was, 8, 9 shots where you'd pan around the city and you'd see the Twin Towers. And it just reminded me in a, sad way. It's like they're not there.
Yeah.
And how about that to bring a show down? And so I saw the buildings and then good night, everybody.
But the passport survived.
But yeah, it was a great movie and it was great acting. And
What was the name of the movie again?
Michael C. Riley was in it, State of Grace. And it was about these, Irish gangs and Italian gangs, which was happening and taking over the area in Hell's Kitchen. And that kind of stuff was going on at the time. But it wasn't.
Talking about John C. Riley?
That guy, right? Yeah. Jeannie C. Riley wrote Harper Valley PTA, but that's a whole different thing. I'm going to tell you about a story about a Harper Valley widow wife. Anyway.
I've been watching Shameless. Have you guys seen Shameless?
Shameless, yeah. It's very, very good.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's horribly good.
That's William H. Macy, right?
It's who?
William H. Macy.
William H. Macy, right?
Yeah.
I've heard great things about it, but I haven't seen it.
It's pretty good. I like a lot of British. I love British, stuff. And there's this one series that I saw the first 3 seasons, even though they weren't really out here, called CB Strike, Strike, CB Strike. And he played, the guy who played the character was, private detective. And it was just really well done. And but now the season 4, which I had never seen, is on Thursday nights on HBO. So I recorded it earlier tonight episode 2. It's really well done. It's just a smart show. A lot of those British shows, like, had brilliant acting and really cool directing, and the CB strike was pretty good. So I like
Well,
the
that
best.
British show is The Crown.
Yeah, The Crown is great. What I really love is this one called Slow Horses, and Slow Horses is up for Academy Award, I'm sure. And it's Gary Oldman, and just incredible acting, and just it's about the MI5, the big CIA company in London, and these are the agents who are like the idiots and the screw ups, and they all got sent to Gary Oldman's place, and Gary Oldman never showered, and he would fart, and when he was talking to people, and it was just like but it's done so, and they're brilliant, they're brilliant even though they were screw ups, and that's another great one to watch.
Well, Shameless is like gone 11 seasons, and I'm
Wow.
kind of just past the middle. I'm still catching up. And it's like the writers just must have thought of. I can relate to a lot of it because I grew up in New York, but it's like takes place in like Chicago, so I can relate to a lot of it. But it's like they take the worst things that a person could do to somebody, to their family member or a friend or loved one or child. It's like the worst things a person can do, physically, mentally, psychologically. They put it in the script.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
It's not for children. It's not.
Not for children, no.
No.
I was watching Suits for a while. My brother-in-law worked in the last 3 seasons. He's a director of photography, and he's done some pretty cool shows. And he was in Suits, or directing a DP in that show, and it was really funny and great. And there's 9 seasons, so I watched the first 6 seasons, and I was like, "Oh man, this is so good!" And I would stay up and watch like 3 or 4 episodes in a row, and then look like a wreck the next day. But then, like when it got to season 6 or the end of 6 and the beginning of 7, it just that jumped the shark thing, and it was like, come on, it's like, disappointing. Did they send the real writers home? What's going on here?
Is there a writer's strike?
No, there's excellent acting in Shameless. That's why I'm like glued to it. Joan Cusack is in it. I love her character. She's amazing. Jeremy Allen White, I love. He just got nominated for all kinds of awards for The Bear on effects, and just so much great acting all around. Even the kids, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I enjoyed it very much. What I saw.
You're all caught up then? You watched all 11?
No, I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a few seasons, and then I, raccoon. What?
Squirrel.
Hey, what about that one?
Yeah, there's so many things to watch. But the CB strike was written by J.K. Rowling, and she wrote it under an assumed name because people weren't really liking her in the news or whatever. But she's a great writer, and so is the show. Anyway,
I'll have to check it out when I get done binge watching.
Right, exactly.
I got a few more seasons. I got to catch up.
When Game of Thrones came out, I didn't watch it. And then season 4 comes out, season 5, and I was like, I can't do it. I've gone too many seasons, and then the last season was just about to start up, and everyone was so excited, the final season. So I said, screw it. So I went and I watched everything up until the final season. So like 68 episodes or so. And I was barely alive, but it was really great. And I was like, oh, okay.
Until
what
the
would
last
you say?
season.
What would you say is your favorite show that's like has many episodes like that?
My favorite?
Yeah, either of you.
Gilmore Girls. I love Gilmore Girls. I can watch over and over and over. And also, a lot of the actors from Gilmore Girls are in Shameless. They make guest appearances on Shameless. So maybe it's the same writers or producers. I don't know. There's definitely got to be some connection there.
That's pretty cool. How about you, Rory? What do you like?
Shows that remained good throughout. The
Mm.
Sopranos,
Yeah.
Breaking Bad.
I'd say those.
Better Call Saul. Bad, yeah.
Yeah, those are great ones. I think The Wire is probably my favorite, but Sopranos and Breaking Bad are like 1A, B, C, those three shows. They're so good. It's hard to pick your favorite, but
I love American Horror Story. I think those are
brilliant.
insane writing there, and yeah, Brad Falchuk and the other guy, Alan something Murphy. Yeah, American Horror Story. I'm addicted to that. I watched, I think, all of them. I think I'm all caught up. And there's a newer one called Grotesque,
Oh yeah,
and
I
that
saw
one's
those
pretty
too.
dark.
Can you
Dark
say
also, but
can you say
excellent acting.
knowingly completely what your favorite movie is of all time? Do you have one?
My favorite movie of all time.
Yeah. It's a hard one
No.
because there's always like 10 different ones that you like.
Yeah. No, I can't. I
You
can't think
know,
just.
E.T. Maybe E.T.
E.T. is fantastic. It's such a great film. There was a
Mhm.
story, and I wish I remember. I just heard it like 2 days ago about the guy who played Elliot, and they didn't have the kid,
Hmm.
for that part, and they were searching and searching, and then he was on like another movie on another lot next door to where they were filming it or whatever. And the kid, they said, "Oh, this kid is great," and he just auditioned, and Spielberg said, "You got it. You're in it." And he was like, "Ah."
And he's like another child star that did that movie and then went away, gone.
Right. Yeah,
Sad.
he's
I
in
hope
the
he's okay.
alleyway doing crack. Yeah.
What's
I
No,
your
would
no, he
say
favorite
did
movie? What's your
stuff.
all-time favorite?
my favorite movie is my favorite top two movies are both foreign films. The Cinema
Hmm.
Paradiso is I think the hands down and hands up, the greatest movie of all time. It's all about love and love of film, and it has an Ennio Morricone soundtrack, and
Mm.
I think, and it's hard to and the number two is a French film from 1981 called Diva, which not only has the most incredible soundtrack, but it's three stories that all converge into each other. And if you watch it only once, it's great. But when you watch it two or three times, you get to see a lot of the subtle things and the foreshadowing and all the beautiful things in it. So if you get to see Diva, of course, both of those films you have to read while you're watching it, but they're
Mm.
incredible.
Mm.
That I would say that Cinema Paradiso is my favorite of all time. I like good soundtracks.
Good soundtrack.
I'm the
Yeah.
same way. Love certain composers a lot. Of course, John Williams and
Mm,
Bernard Herrmann from the early days. I like
yeah,
Danny Elfman scores. He does great scores.
yeah,
Um,
he's a genius.
and of course, Ennio Morricone. Oh man, all those spaghetti
Yeah,
westerns and beyond.
I every once in a while I'll do like in my apartment I'll do like a movie week, and I'll pick all Clint Eastwood movies or all Ennio Morricone soundtracks, or I was and one time I did a week of westerns, and it was really fun. And I think 12 O'Clock High was one of them, and Stagecoach was one of them. Now I
Yeah,
forget in which one in what order, but in one of the movies, I think it was Stagecoach or 12 O'Clock High, there was a scene where Andy Devine is in both films, and he's the guy who talks like this.
Andy Divine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has this line where he says, "One day I'm gonna marry a Mexican woman and have a mess of children," and it didn't make any sense, and it just was a line, and I remember it because it didn't make any sense. And then I saw Stagecoach, and in Stagecoach there's a scene where he's in the gang, and they drive by to pick him up, and he opens the door, and inside the door is a Mexican woman and like 12 children. So he referenced another movie that only people who really knew the movie could tell. It was really cool.
Wow.
Funny.
Were you in movies? Have you been in any
I've been
movies?
in a few. Yeah. I was in 30 Years to Life with Tracy Morgan. I played his manager, and Gaffigan was in the film, and it was pretty good. Yeah, because I worked at Letterman, it was hard for me to get away for long enough to make a movie, but it happened to be
Hmm.
30 Years to Life. It was only filming for 5 days, and that was a week off from Letterman, so it just was perfect the way it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some movies. When I was in college, we did a shitty movie that was fun to do, and we thought we were stars, and but it's all our
That's
friends, and
fun. I like the fun stuff.
yeah, we had fun. It was really good. But yeah, no, that was another one of my dreams, was always to be in movies or cartoons. Like I'm in Dr. Katz, the cartoon. And to
Oh,
me, that was like I loved cartoons growing up, still love cartoons. And so to be in one, as was pretty great.
cool. Yeah, I've been in a few things too, but
I remember when that was on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
not
Swiggle
not
Vision.
not like that huge.
And then there was they were hired to do another series, and it was called Science Court, where they were teaching kids about science. And the episode would end up in court, and then you'd find out the truth about how something was made in science. And I got to do a couple of episodes of that. That was really fun. I played
Cool.
an old man, and in one, and then I played this guy who's crazy. He said that's crazy.
Oh, cool.
He does
fun.
voices.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah.
How do you
Because
think
you don't have to
versus
dress up.
working on movie sets versus David Letterman show?
It was all great. There was an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I got asked to be in without auditioning, because I, knew a lot of the cast, and the director I was a friend and liked my work. But it was at the same night it was only one day of shooting that that Letterman was filming, and Bill Burr was a guest. And that was part of my responsibility at the Letterman show. So I couldn't leave to go do the film. And it was just like, of all the days in the year, they happen to be on the same day, same time, same bat station. It was a shame, but I loved all of it. I love it all.
Yeah.
Being in films and television, and it was really a lot of dream come true stuff.
And also you have the live audience experience, which is also probably a trip, right? It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's very
Totally
different.
different.
Yeah, it's very, very different. But again, it's all part of the creative process, and yeah, It's funny. I've had a lot of dreams come true that I never dreamed of.
That's blessings.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's pretty great.
Did you was there always a live audience on Letterman?
Always, yeah,
Always.
yeah.
And
We
they
did
don't
a
have
show.
to be like in the Screen Actors Guild to be in the audience, right? They could just be
No, yeah,
anybody.
and it never cost money, because when you're filming a television show, you sort of give the audience the right to be in the shots or whatever by being in the crowd. But the crowd is one of the most important things in any kind of a television live audience, and that's
Yeah.
why like as a warm-up comedian, I did so many different shows. But the audience is one of the most important parts of that.
I have a little clip. Do you mind if I show it? I have a little clip of you that
Is it me going to the bathroom?
no, I think I
Of
was going to
course
show
not.
it the last time you were on my show, but then we talked so much we lost track of time, and so anyway, let me show it real quick. Hold on.
Okay, I hope I'm not embarrassed.
Here it comes.
A very funny gentleman. By the way, I'm glad you folks are in a good mood tonight. I really am. On October 18th, this man will be performing at the Throckmorton Theater in Mill Valley, California. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back our good friend, Eddie Brill. Eddie, come on out.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you. When I was growing up, my grandma used to always say, the truth will set you free. Then she went to prison for perjury. I'm lying. You know, if you haven't been lied to lately, try online dating. Nobody tells the truth in online dating. Sometimes they ask questions like, what's the worst thing you ever did? And you can't tell the truth there. Sometimes they, I thought you would know, but sometimes they lie about their age, sometimes they lie about their weight, sometimes they don't have a picture of themselves. Sometimes it's like a horse. You're so insecure you got to show your horse? Years ago I tried it and I went online and the girl in the picture, I set up a date with her. She was 28 in the picture. When she showed up, she was 52. 52. I thought it was the girl's mother showing up to tell me she couldn't make it. But the good news, she let me ride her horse. You know, but we're all insecure to a degree. You know, we grow up thinking we're not good enough. So we go on a date, we're not going to bring ourselves to the date. We don't want that to show up. So we create a character we think the other person wants. And they do the same thing. They create a character they think we want. You're not on a date, you're in a play. And you have lines like, so how many brothers do you have? And you don't even care if she has a family. You're just wondering what she looks like without that dress. And girls pack on so much makeup, they show up to the date looking like a kabuki dancer. Like, he's not going to see my real face till I know he can provide for me. You know, we're lied to our whole lives. We are. You know, we're lied to about everything. Food, politics, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Celine Dion. You know. When I was a kid in school, I took religion class, and they told me that sex was the devil's work. Oddly enough, it was taught to me by people who never had sex before. That's like getting hunting lessons from Dick Cheney. Not a good source.
Hey, I'll tell you two interesting things. At the beginning, when Letterman says, I hope you guys are all in a good mood, the reason why he said that is because that's what Johnny Carson would say just before he brought out a new comedian. He would say to the audience, I'm so glad you guys are in a great mood tonight. And that was known to be the Johnny Carson thing. So Letterman wanted to do that, and he started going, ladies and gentlemen, then he said, by the way, I'm glad you're in a good mood, and brought that up. And the other thing is the producers made a big mistake. Is there was another comedian on the show, Artie Lang, who's my friend, and Artie was on earlier in the show and did a whole thing on online dating in his episode. So now the producers knew my words, every word I was going to say, and they knew everything Artie was going to say. And the fact that they let him talk about that, it was just poor planning, because you don't want someone to talk about the same subject. So I made a callback to what Artie said in the thing where I repeated something he had said. So the only people who know what happened were the people in the audience. So that's why I went. I thought you guys would know, to the audience, and they figured out I was calling back call back about what Artie did.
Oh.
But in retrospect, I should have not done that, because as a standalone, it doesn't look like doesn't make sense.
Mm.
So there's a couple of things.
They were with you, though.
Oh yeah, no, it didn't suck.
You were regularly the warm up for the.
Yeah, I warmed up for I was there for 17 years as the warm up comic, and then for 11 I was booking the comedians on the show, and it was great. And that tape, I was in such good shape. Oh my God, I was. Who was that guy? That was about 13 years ago. I think. Yeah. It was October of 2011.
Whatchamacallit? Let me see if I can show you this. The other day, I told you, Eddie, I was on TikTok and I was watching Dane Cook, and I just the comment section was just so rapid. It was rapid fire. I could hardly catch up with the comments, but I just happened to put in there. I said, "Do you know Eddie Brill?" And this is what he said. I tried to screen record as much as I could, but he knew exactly who you were. So
Yeah, because
course.
I started in Boston, and he was a Boston comic, so we
Yeah,
all
he
knew
said
each
hi
other.
to you. This is him saying hi to you.
You know, some beautiful words of wisdom, moments that I got to share with Dave on the show. But when Eddie Brill came in, I was like, oh, Eddie, please. I know he can't put all his friends in and all the cronies from Boston, but all that being said, he had an amazing run in that job. You'll ask him, was he there maybe 15 years after that? And he broke a lot of great talent on that show. So you're interviewing one of the greats, and tell him I said hello. And if he ever gets the job again, throw me 5 minutes. You know, maybe a February spot.
That's so funny. Yeah, and now it would have to Harry Letterman would have to put him on David's son. You know. Yeah,
I
you
thought
know,
that
it's
was
very
the
hard. It's
coolest
very,
thing,
very
and
hard. You
who
can't
you
put
were. And I did the
everyone.
comment section was just going so nuts that I was shocked that he even saw my comment. I was like,
That's
what?
so nice. And he was, you know, we got along. There were so many comedians I wanted to put on, but that's impossible. And literally, if you think about it, I had to say no 99% of the time. You know, the thousands of comedians around the world, because I'm a comic working in Europe and working in Australia and working all over. And I work with so many great, amazing comedians. And I had best friends who were comedians, and I just couldn't put everyone on.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
a shame. And some people were angry, you know, they were like, but you have a job, and that's part of the agita of having a job like that. The beauty is giving people like Mike Birbiglia, giving him a break, or, putting Kumail Nanjiani on for the first time. And, like all these people who I saw as young, Roy Wood Jr., and put them on television because I saw them to be one of a kind and original, and and I got it right most of the time. So that felt really good.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
cool that and I guess he's going on tour. So
Yeah, he's back out there getting it done. He was
and
a
he's
very
from
smart.
Boston though. He said you guys have like a Boston connection?
Yeah, I went to Emerson College in Boston, and that's where I started
Okay.
comedy. I went and
Wow.
I did improv and sketch while I was in college, and then I started doing some. Stephen Wright was in college with us, and we would go see him, and we did stand up, and it was great. Then I quit after college, and about 4 years later, I started up again. But yeah, Boston was an incredible comedy scene, and Dane was one of the smartest guys because he was the first person to use the internet to get millions of followers. And his career went really well because he was so savvy. And he did Letterman a bunch of times.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Small world.
It is, but I
Do
wouldn't
you
want to
ever
paint
go
it
on TikTok?
even right.
Do you ever go live on TikTok?
I didn't do live on TikTok. I did during the pandemic. I was live every day on Instagram. And I would do I started out doing hour episodes. It was too much. I did about 15 to 20 minutes, did 15, 20 minutes, but you couldn't go back and forth like we are, which would be more helpful. I would just start chatting, and people would type in the thing, and I'd read it and then answer it. And it was fun.
Right.
It kept my brain from turning to mush. Mhm.
You should. I'll come hang out and watch if you go on TikTok.
Okay. You bring the noising crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tag a bunch of friends. I have tons of people I can tag on there.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of amazing talent on TikTok. I hope it doesn't go away. It's a great way for everyone to connect and stay connected,
It
all over the
wasn't. It
world.
wasn't going to go away. It was used as that whole thing was a political tool. Like
Yep.
get rid of it. It sucks. It's just poison. It's whatever. And then it came back, and then they took it off the air, and they went, "Oh, I'm going to put it back on the air." It's all bullshit. You just had to sit around and wait for those, the bad people, the liars, and
Oh, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for all of you.
yeah, yeah.
I
You're the
mean,
one
I
who
was
save it from
personally
you.
bummed because I have like hours and hours of clips from my shows and
Right.
hours of that I've worked hard and put, of me singing and I've had hours of content that I've created. So I was just sad, I don't want to lose all that hard work.
Yeah, I understand. Rory and I met on Clubhouse, and I interviewed like 20 of the greatest comedy people in the industry, and had big crowds and everything, but none of it was recorded, unfortunately.
Wow.
It's a shame because Clubhouse didn't save
Was
it.
that the audio platform?
Yeah, that's where I met.
I
What do
haven't
you?
been on there in like 2 years.
Yeah, I haven't been on there since the pandemic was over.
Yeah.
But
I-
it was.
it's
That's how I
called
met
Clubhouse.
Renee. That's how I met Renee, and I met Billy
Yeah.
Vera and all that. You know, and then I had one episode with Bill Burr that was that's the third time I said his name. There was like 15,000 people. So I
Yeah,
got
thanks for the plug there. Yeah, appreciate
yeah.
it.
So I called.
Right.
I wrote an email to the people at Clubhouse saying, "Look, I'm getting these huge crowds and big stars." I had Robert Klein and Henry Winkler and Susie Essman and on and on and on. It was all big stars,
Right.
and
Wow.
I was getting big audiences. So I wrote to them and said, "Hey, I'd like to create a Sunday show, like a late night show with a band and interviews and live comedy," and they didn't write back. And then I wrote back again, and they didn't write back, and they dropped the ball. So whoever was in charge at Clubhouse really wasn't sharp, and the Clubhouse lost its energy because the people who ran it were not very savvy at what they did.
Yeah.
And so I asked for this Sunday night slot, and then they put some sex show on opposite my show, and of course, people are going to go to the sex show. It was just, it was almost like they were like telling me to go F myself.
That's
But it's not. I'm not carrying it around with me. It's a shame because it would have been great. But I say noising to all those people.
Nice. Just watch Shameless. You'll get a sex show if you watch
There you
that.
go. Yeah, yeah. That because I think I said that I on the one that I said on Letterman that you had shown is like. Like sex was the devil's work, and I go, I don't know if you've had sex before, but it's fantastic. And I think I had to take that out or something. I don't remember. Anyway.
So what's your next stand-up comedy?
In the city, I'm working at
Uh-huh.
West Side Comedy Club. In February, I'm doing a lot of stuff there. Plus, I teach some workshops, and my workshops are all sold out, and which is great.
Wow.
And we're, it's like 3.5, 4 weeks from now, and it's all sold out already. And so I'll do more. I just
glad
try
to
to
hear
do
the
as much as I
workshops are
can.
doing well.
What's that?
I said I'm glad to hear the workshops are doing well. We talked about that when we had dinner.
Yeah, it's
You were
pretty fun.
excited about that.
Because you can't teach someone to be funny. You're either funny or you're not. But you can. There's there are workshops. It's like musicians have workshops. Al Pacino takes acting workshops. You what you're doing is you're sharpening your skills in these workshops because what happens most of the time in the workshops that I do is you're getting to hear how people perceive you. And when you hear that, you learn a lot of things about what you're doing or how it appears to other people. You might not agree with them, and that's important. That's okay. But it's nice to hear how you're perceived and how to, like when I was a younger comic, for some reason I would always touch my chin. I would always do that. And a friend of mine said, "Why are you doing that?" And I go, "Do what?" "Touch your chin." And I went, "Oh, I didn't realize it." And then I got rid of that, and it actually turned out to be good for performance. And the same thing with these workshops. They talk about rhythm and to be the most authentic self, because a lot of people will say there'll be a comedy book on how to write comedy. And everybody who reads that book, if they do comedy that way, there's going to be 10 billion comedians who do it that one way. But the key is to really help people to find their own special sauce,
Right. Because everybody does different kinds of comedy, different types of comedy, right?
Because, so a lot of people are like, well, you got to have a laugh every 20 seconds and it's like, no, what about Brian Regan? He, it takes him about 30 to 40 seconds to set something up. Or what about Andy Kaufman or Lily Tomlin or Maria Bamford? They're not every certain laughs per second, but people believe that those are theories that work. They do work for some people, but not for everybody. Yeah. So that's what I do in the workshops. It's just feedback. And I've
Yeah.
done, helped a lot of comedians, young and old, with that.
Point
Yeah.
them in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a funny joke, but my jokes are not funny. they're,
Yeah.
But you
they're
got
funny because they're so silly that they're actually funny, but they're
I
not.
wrote a joke the other about 2 years ago, and I put it back on Facebook like last night or the night before because someone was mentioning it. I said, I keep waking up in the middle of the night to take a pee, and I go, that's why they call it the wee hours of the night. So it's
Ah,
wordplay, and I'm having fun with it. So some guy wrote, yeah, it's a dad joke, and I kind of got like defensive because a dad joke. What do you're too lazy to enjoy it, or you have to pick on the joke and give it a label. Like I said, look, I'm a dad, so I wrote a joke, and I'm a dad. Does that make it a dad joke? And the guy's like, well, I was just trying to say that 5-year-old kids would laugh at it. Well, good because so would 60-year-old people.
yeah.
I took
Kind of
offense, and
annoying.
yeah,
And sometimes kids have the best humor. They're the best audience.
yes, farts are funny. So yeah, but it's all good. I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm doing. Last night I did a podcast. Tonight I'm doing your thing, and then
Oh, great.
it's just I'm doing whatever I can and keeping myself, eh, excuse me, alive, and you know enjoying my son, who's a comedian, who's doing very, very well, playing with his 2 kids, my little grandchildren, laughing and singing and dancing, and you know, it's been pretty good.
That
It's
sounds
not
like a good life.
it's not been smooth all the way through, but it's been pretty amazing.
It sounds like a good life to me.
Yeah. All
Sounds
right. I think
good.
we're losing steam. I think it's
I,
like brrr.
I keep losing my thought, but no, it's always an honor to have you, and I always
I
love hearing your
appreciate it.
stories, and
Always good to spend time with you.
Same,
always good to
same. The
catch
both of
up.
you.
Yeah, I was dying to hear about how your trip when I know you guys were visiting together in New York, so that's so cool.
Yeah.
Um, and
It's fun. You've got to make the best of it. There's you know, too many charlatans out there, and there's a lot of corruption in the world, and a lot of selfishness, but there's also a lot of compassion in the world, and a lot of passion, and you just got to pick a side, and just try to keep doing what makes you happy, even if there's it's like you advertising, politics, religion. They constantly pile stuff on top of your shoulders going, you're a piece of shit, and you're no good, and you're a sinner, and you did this, and no one's going to have sex with you because you have pimples. And I mean, it's just a whole life of you suck, you suck, you suck. But we have the device that you need to buy so that you won't suck. And instead, I just get rid of all of that bullshit and say, I don't suck. I'm a human. I make mistakes. The word sin, I think, is Latin, the sine, which means mistake. So you don't really commit a sin. You've made a mistake, and you correct the mistake, and you learn from it, and then you go on. But too many people want to own, that negativity, and I won't let it happen.
That reminds me of
Except
that
the
Bill
except the
Hicks
bastard who
used
said it was a dad joke, and it's like, "Argh."
to, Bill Hicks used to do the bit about the religious people coming up to him after the show. That bit you did about the religious bit, we don't like that. He
And
said,
then
"Oh,
he'd
you
say,
don't like
well, then
that?
forgive me.
Forgive me."
Yeah. It's so brilliant.
Yes.
I
But
love.
it's not people's fault. They're pounded in their head. Sin, you're a sinner, you're born a sinner, you're no good, you're gonna go to hell and die in fire, and all that stuff. And it's hard to it's a very fear-based teaching. And that's why people are uptight. Instead of being positive and be willing to make mistakes and have fun, dancing around in your mistakes, it just becomes a world of negativity. And in reality, what I try to be is part of a world of happiness. And that's why I'm broke. No, that's
Good advice. Where's the podcast you're going to be on tomorrow? You said.
No, I was on last night.
Oh, where?
Where was I on last night? I forget. Oh, it's the San Francisco thing. It's a bunch of comics from San Francisco, and it's a weekly show. And it's his last name is Brian Copeland, and he has
Okay.
usually like 3 guests, 4 guests, and they talked all about politics, which I just not a big fan of. And
Yeah.
but got said my piece. We made some people, everyone had fun. We laughed, and then then we
I want to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I've done thousands of podcasts, and I love them. And I have my own. I have 3 different sets of podcasts. The very first one, I did 11 episodes, and it was Susie Essman and Caroline Ray and Mario Cantone and Jim Gaffigan and David Tell. And it's called The Break with Eddie Brill. There's 11 of those episodes.
Oh.
And I did a few other ones like that. And now I'm working for the American Comedy Archives. And I've interviewed Stephen Wright, Paula Poundstone, Roy Wood Jr., Mario Cantone, and Bill Burr. A 4th mention of Bill Burr. Mentioned.
Name dropping.
Yeah. See what's on your mind tonight.
So that's good. And that's online. You could see the interviews I've done with these people. That's the American Comedy Archives. So it's all good.
Everybody go check it out. Go follow Eddie.
Yeah, and I'm on Facebook, but I had to get rid of about 20 people because I was oversold. You could follow me there, but Instagram, I'm Eddie Comic, EDDIECOMIC at Instagram. So you can say hi to me there. My comedy, the pieces I write, the stories I write, they're mostly on Facebook. So if you follow me, then you could see a lot of the stories.
I will. I want to.
Yeah,
Hold on.
some are funny.
I mean,
some
I
are
already follow
provocative.
you. Yeah, I already follow you on I think all the platforms. And right now we're on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So
Yeah.
we're all
No,
over
this
the
is
place. We're
fun.
all over
This
the
is-
place.
Yeah, good. Thankfully.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor and my pleasure to have you as my special guest again, and Rory. And so good to glad you guys had a good meetup in New York. I'm
Yes.
jelly. And
Well, next
week,
time
I
when
think
you
we have
come to New York,
Tristan.
we'll have a meet up as well, and we'll eat some good food and laugh together.
Most definitely. Now, I had a heart attack in September.
Yes.
So I've lost
Mhm.
about, over 45 pounds since then.
It's
I'm a
so
lot
good
lighter
that you
than when
did.
last saw me.
I'm glad to
But-
hear that. Yeah, I've lost lately. I've been doing intermittent fasting, which I've done before, and I've
Uh-huh.
lost like 15 pounds already. It works. If you know the science of your body, you can, it's just all the psychology and advertising, like, that you have to get around.
Go through ketosis.
Yes, ketosis is huge. It helps your body repair itself.
Yeah.
And it works. There's no secret. There's like, tiny percentage of the world, people who can't do things because of something that affects their body, but ketosis. And there's a guy, his name, I wish, his name starts with a V. That's really going to be helpful. But he does he's in there, a whole thing about fasting, intermittent fasting, and how you repair your body that way. And his name is like Vault instead of Walt or something like that. You just put intermittent fasting and the letter and Vault, and you'll find him. But anyway, it's just the last thing we're saying is that, you lost weight, and I'm happy that you did. That you'll live longer.
Yes, I hope so.
Yes. And Sandy, always good to see you as well.
Always great to see you, Eddie. Thanks for being our guest. And we'll see y'all next week. And hello to the replay people. Go follow Eddie. And we'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Golden chicken.
Getting salty with Sandy here at the beach. Stand on my feet. There's no place that I would rather be than getting salty with Sandy.
sun's are getting on right.